Stragglers will generally miss something, so it's good to be on time. So what Suzanne just said, so it's okay. We're going to get going. Final stretch, guys. I'm going to share with you what my son Matthew often yells at me when I'm absolutely exhausted in the final stages of an endurance race. And he goes, "Dad, strong finish!" This is it, guys. We're in the final hour and a bit. Judges are off doing their thing. We have a wonderful guest here with us today, and I'm going to give a bit of an intro, and then we're going to hand it off to the judges so we can know what the outcome is for the last 2 days. So let me start by saying this. What if it was possible to operate an organization where employees have clear focus and purpose, where their creative talents and voices are respected every day, where you can make money and do good in the world at the same time? Human and financial capital that creates, builds, and grows a social good. Can you imagine? It's my pleasure to introduce Suzanne West, CEO of Imaginia Energy. CEO, fearless leader, visionary, and as her bio reads, she's going to change the world. Wow. What I love about this statement is that it summarizes why I believe we're all here today and why we've been here the last 2 days. And frankly, why we all go into healthcare to begin with, to reimagine. Now, the challenge is making that real. Now, Suzanne, you may remember last year meeting my son at the Creativity and Convergence Conference, and it was by one of our sponsors of this event, the Alberta Council of Technologies. He's 8 years old, or he was 8 at the time, and he stood out a little bit because he was the only youth at the conference, and he had a fresh mohawk. But he still remembers meeting you because of the challenge that you gave him. And you basically said 2 things. When are you going to start your company, to change the world? One of the lovely things about being here is that we all get to see people of all ages and stages in life trying to reimagine the future of healthcare. And I want to really emphasize what my colleague Greg said earlier this morning. There are really 2 types of people. There are those who are innovating today and those who want to innovate. And it's hard sometimes to be able to actually see beyond what you see physically, to imagine what's in their head and what prevents them from executing on that desire, because there are so many barriers in every country to driving meaningful change. But it is possible. Leaders do more than promote, they remove barriers. And that's why I'm excited to welcome Suzanne to tell us your story about how and why.
Am I on? Can you hear me? Perfect. I always start my talks in terms of I thank everyone for actually staying as opposed to maybe going out and enjoying some of the sunshine. So my commitment is hopefully that I will say something over the noon hour here that is either interesting, relevant, provocative, mind-blowing, or inspirational, or at least controversial, one of the 2, to keep you interested, to make you believe that this was actually worth your time. It's one of my goals. So I was telling them, it's like, do you have slides or whatever? It's like, I'm a very intuitive person in terms of I literally am going to show you how you can speak from your heart, and the things that show up for you is the things that it feels like need to be said. Because sometimes that seems scary for people. It's like, if you really trust yourself, that's one of the things that we as a society have really lost, is that we've become just so tactical. We've become so transactional. We've become so addicted to being busy and not present, is that we've lost some of our innate. Our intuition is one of the deepest, most amazing, extraordinary gifts we have as human beings. And yet, we don't get taught how to use it. We don't get rewarded for using it. It's like, well, you can't trust that. It's like, how you can't put that in a formula. And yet it is one of our deepest gifts that we have as humans, because it knows everything. It knows all the answers. We just have to listen. We have to get present, because this group full of entrepreneurs and people that want to change the world, the world is full of complex problems, as you know. And our deepest capacity to solve those will be it has to come from here. It has to come from meaning and purpose, and it has to come from following your heart, in spite of what everybody tells you. If I had a list of all the people that have told me I cannot do what I have done, it would be a very, very long list. Fortunately, I've mostly ignored them over my life. But I want to start my talk today by, I speak at lots of the universities. It's one of my favorite groups, because I get them potentially before they get wrecked into the world. So I go, don't listen to anything anyone tells you outside this university. But in all seriousness, so I give my talk, and then we have a Q&A. And I was at U of A, and this lovely young student gets up, because I talk about changing the world all the time. And he gets up, and he sort of puts his hands on his hips, and he didn't say it negatively. It was more challenging. And he says, "Do you really think you can change the world?" And I immediately says, "Of course." And then I said, "Changing the world is actually quite easy." And now I have his sort of attention, because he wasn't necessarily expecting that answer. I said, "Yeah, it's quite easy. In fact, you only need 2 things." Now I have his kind of complete attention, because like, whoa, I didn't hear this formula before. And then I gave him, the beautiful truth that I learned many years ago, that I am now putting in full force practice to change the world. You only need 2 things. 1, you have to want to. 2, you have to try. It's really a super simple formula. And so I'm here to tell you some of my story in terms of wanting to and then trying. So those of you that, I apologize if you've heard some of my story before, I'll give sort of a short version. I have been running oil and gas companies for many years. I left the big companies. I actually grew up at Imperial Oil, the bastion of command and control organizational model. And I come from kind of a lower middle class, so I fortunately didn't have any real experience with the corporate world when I was growing up, and I certainly did not have any mentors in entrepreneurship. I mean, my grandmother, when I told her I wanted to be an engineer, she said, "Honey, why do you want to drive a train?" And so, I mean, this was her relationship to the world, the very small world that I came from. But when I got introduced to Imperial Oil, and like this was the organizational model, it literally was so shocking and confusing to me that's like, this can't be real. Like, you must have tried this out of the dark ages, right? Because how do you have an organization that hires smart, talented, resourceful people and then feels you need to tell them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it all the time? Like, those 2 things, either you hired stupid people, which you need this, or if you hired smart, talented, resourceful people, you shouldn't have to need that. And it was so distressing to me, because I saw this and was like, well, you're never going to get people to be entrepreneurial or reach their potential or be collaborative or innovative or self-managing. Like, you were going to achieve none of that with this organizational model. So being bold, and I usually have more boldness than brains sometimes, and I thought I could turn the Queen Mary around, so I was an organizational rebel for many years, trying to do that in Imperial. Let me assure you that was my first failure, that I did not do that. So, however, I became very creative of getting around stupid rules, and it also mostly really crystallized what I never wanted an organization to kind of be. Because I'd always had in my head this organizational model, and now I actually, as I look back, it's very much related to how Mother Nature works, is the 4 tenets. 1, I never understood why you couldn't have an organization without middle managers. To me, they added no value. You don't need them. Mother Nature, you have leaders, and you have everyone else that knows what to do. If you could teach people how to understand what their contribution was to the organization, to teach them about the visions and the goals and how they impacted others and how others impacted them, that they would actually be the best ones to make the decisions. They were on the ground, real time, most experienced, etc. That these are the people that actually should make the decisions, not the ones 5 removed. And if you could do that, you could teach people how self-mastery, and in terms of how to literally be deeply accountable. Like, you're on first base. This is yours. that they would make better decisions because they would own it. The second tenet was around, I would be very distressed when I saw traditional organizations essentially be more focused on structure and process than on what really made sense. So it's like, we've done it this way for 20 years. I'm pretty sure we're going to do it again for the next 20 years. It must be a really great process. And we never had any innovation. We never had people that knew when to change, how to change. It never had this kind of evolutionary capacity to it, like Mother Nature, who says, I need a new fin. How do I grow a new fin? Is that we could build that in organizations in terms of this continual desire to get better and better and to make the choices of how do we do that. And then the third one, which was really distressing, is that traditional organizational models always have this separation mentality. Different teams, different groups, different goals, self-serving goals. This is my budget, get away or I'll poke your eyes out. Like, I just saw the most crazy things. I mean, I'm a very collaborative person kind of by my nature, and I can intellectualize external competition where it, keeps you sharp, keeps you on your game, keeps you pushing. I never understood internal competition because it is poison in an organization, 100% poison. Is that it's like, aren't we on the same team? Aren't we supposed to be working for the same? And yet we had this pervasive separation mentality as opposed to we were missing massive opportunities in collaboration. Even in the world today, we are missing enormous opportunities for collaboration because we only worry mostly about ourselves. We spend so much time being better than everyone else. If we took that same time and energy and literally brought out the best in everybody, oh my God, what an amazing world we would have, right? And so to me, if you had an organization that truly could focus on the greater good rather than just on, me, you would have an incredible organization. And the last one, which was related to people. I have always just intrinsically known that people are your greatest asset. People talk about this all the time, and then they do nothing to demonstrate that they really believe this. As opposed to, the industrial age kind of did human beings a disservice because it took us from human beings and it made us into workers. So just bring your business person to work and we'll give you tasks and you need to do them well and not make mistakes. That's what we've kind of relegated ourselves to. And it's like, leave all that personal stuff behind. We don't want to talk about that. And yet we are whole people. It is where our genius lies. We are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual people. And it is our wholeness that makes us extraordinary and special. So why wouldn't we want to spend the time? And everybody, just like in Mother Nature, we need giraffes and birds and fishes and bugs because they all generate a specific, amazing contribution to our ecosystem. Every human being, every person in this room and outside this room came to this world with this amazing, extraordinary, what I call mojo. It is what you were born to do. It is the intersection of what you absolutely love, what you're ridiculously good at, and brings you meaning and satisfaction. Like, everybody has one. If you cannot find it, I will help you find it. We have a mojo exercise at Imaginea. So that, why wouldn't we want to find that in people and then build your role around that? So that we have internal coaches at Imaginea because we want people to be the best versions of themselves. We want them to figure out the issues you had with your dad 10 years ago, or what are the reasons you can't communicate with that person? What are the reasons that you're afraid of this? What are the reasons that you're holding yourself back? Why wouldn't we want to spend the time and energy in helping people literally find the most extraordinary, best versions of themselves that they can go into organizations and bring that special and productivity and collaboration and innovation, all the beautiful things about being human beings to that. Anyways, so I had this kind of model in my head. Clearly this was not the Imperial Oil model, so I had to leave Imperial Oil. So, because I woke up one day and it occurred to me that I was spending half of my energy like getting an organization to do what I barely considered ordinary. It's like, what if I spent all my time and energy into making an organization kind of rock? So I left. I went to Gulf was recruiting. I didn't really want to go to a big company. I was thinking I was going to a small company because, again, I didn't have any mentors in entrepreneurship. But you kind of know, those of you that are entrepreneurs, you know when you're in the wrong pond. It's like, I just don't think this is it. So I was going to go to a small company, but they came recruiting. And I was like, no. But JP Bryan, who was the head of Gulf at the time, he said, you need to come and tell me no to my face. Never one to shrink from a challenge. It's like, yeah, sure. And then, of course, I met the man that was going to change my life. So he had this big vision of how do we make big companies act like small companies? Because big companies have great advantages, and then we kind of mess them up. So this kind of sounded like Mecca to me. So I went, but I told him about this. Say, listen, I have this organizational model. I really want to try. It's like, listen, I don't care how you make me money. So he gave me enough rope to hang myself with. And literally, it was an amazing time in my life. I got to that's really where my organizational model was kind of birthed. I tried every crazy idea I had. Not all of them worked, by the way. But it was such an amazing time to see this evolve into what I had in my head. And I looked after about a third of golf at the time, and it was amazing. Like, to see our group, people were happy and laughing down the hall. We were beating our stretch targets. And then JP Bryan was fired because he was too much of a maverick for this town, and I was not far behind. So I was fired along with half my team. And so in my exit interview, I said to my COO, I said, so let me get this straight. I'm being fired because I'm doing better than everybody else? And he says, no, you're getting fired because you're doing it different than everybody else. And it was literally one of the lowest points in my career that I realized deeply, that they cared more about, being the same and not successful as being, different and extraordinary. And it was just really hard. And so, but the gift of that, other than the stake in the heart, was that the reason I started my first company was not because I should have started by the way, I had no business starting my first company. I knew nothing. I look back, oh my God, thank God I didn't know that. I started my first company because I was just mad. I was so angry that this is not the rule book. You don't do good and get fired. That's not what the rule book says. And so I was just so angry that people didn't get it, that they had these mentalities. And so I went home, and this is what you do when you're mad. You remortgage your house, and you open up all your piggy banks, and you roll the dice. 100%, because it was like, it can't be any worse than this. And I started my first company, and thank God I got fired from golf. Like, thank God, because I was not in the right place. I was not doing what I was born to do. And so I basically do the equivalent. I buy old houses and I fix them up, except they happen to be oil and gas assets. So I've been doing that for several years, having super fun, organizational model, etc. And I was, having fun and being successful at it, but I was really going to retire from the industry because there's many parts of this industry that really bother me. The greed, some of the testosterone, the win-lose mentality. I love men, but the men with too much of it is a bit too much. And then, the things we're doing in the environment, there's just some, not good things. So I was going to retire. However, the universe said, nope, that is not what I was born to do either. So I had this amazing experience. I got myself invited to Richard Branson has a leadership gathering on his private island in the Caribbean. And he brings entrepreneurs and academics, and it's a think tank type setting of how do we make a bigger difference in the world. So this, of course, sounded like Mecca to me. So I got myself invited, and I am not necessarily proud, but I was going to go get. That was my whole mentality. I'm going to go hang around super cool people and just absorb and learn. And I did not realize that this week was about to change my life in every possible way. So when you get there, Richard, by the way, is an amazing human being. I love him to death. And when you get there, he then informs you that over the week, by the end of the week, that he wants you to declare what you're going to go back to your community to do to make a difference. And it's like, okay, there just went the get part. It's like, now I have to actually do something with this. So it actually became this kind of soul-searching week for me. And through the week, they talked about all the big problems in the world. If you haven't paid attention, we have some very serious ones. We have 1 billion people without food and clean water. We are destroying the largest ecosystem in the world. It's actually kind of depressing. However, we also talked about the solutions. And one of the solutions that's quite significant is if we can raise the standard of living in developing countries, we can start to make bites into these problems. Energy is a serious contributor to standard of living. Energy will define our future. What it is, where we get it from, and what we do with it. So all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, okay, hang on. My industry could be such a force for good, and yet we're not. So it was like, whoa. And then my entrepreneurial juices started kicking in. It's like, hang on. As an entrepreneur, I like hanging out in the space that other people aren't. It's just kind of fun. And it occurred to me, we've separated society in every unhealthy way we can possibly imagine. Race, religion, gender, politics. In my industry, you're either a crazy tree hugger or you're a greedy capitalist. Those are your two choices. Pick your camps, then we gotta fight about it to see who wins and loses. That's why we have Keystone. And yet, seriously, it's a very simple fight. So I'm sitting there going, hang on, is there a rule book that says we cannot make great profits and not wreck the planet at the same time? Is there some rule book that has prevented us? It's like, no, I do not think there is a rule book for this. So all of a sudden it's like, hang on, I think we've actually been missing an enormous opportunity to smash energy and environment together as an opportunity to actually make both better. To make it part of the fabric of your business, not just we should because we feel guilty about it. But the really cool part, which comes to the long intro to my first part around wanting to, is, and sorry, and you will tell why it's important to me, because Imagining is my life, not just my company. Through the week, to hear the big problems and trying to figure out, what my contribution was going to be. It was a deeply humbling moment through that week when I recognized that I did have more that I could do, that I wasn't. If you'd interviewed me before, that I was like, yeah, I'm making a change, I'm doing good in the world. And yet, when I was really honest with myself, I realized that I wasn't, and that was not cool. And so that Friday morning, I have a deep spiritual practice, and so that Friday morning meditation, trying to going, okay, what does more look like in my contribution? It was literally one of, easily top 3 moments in my life that in a moment, with crystal clarity, I knew what I had to do. I knew it. And so I got up to Richard and the group that morning, and I told them I was going home to change my industry. And I came home and I wrote a manifesto called Project Step Up, because I told myself I had to step up my game. And it's about how do we create a new energy company that values planet, people, and profit, all 3. Not just 1 or 1.5. And so I knew this was but I was running Blackshire, my 4th company, but we were already scheduled to sell that year. So it's like, okay, I'll sell Blackshire, I'll take some time off and figure out, how I'm going to do this. Because of course that's super important in the world today to know exactly what you're doing. The universe decided, no, that was not the plan either. So this was in February of 2013. So in August of 2013, I had another amazing opportunity to go to Ecuador to live with indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest to learn how they live in harmony with Mother Nature. Good Lord, if Richard didn't, change my life, this was like the bookend of holy cow. And the indigenous people really taught me what "and" means, really taught me. The jungle taught it to me, and I know it in my cells now. It doesn't even really have language that I can explain it to people. But I saw the devastation, that's there. And I came back, and it was heart-wrenching. I was embarrassed to be part of a society that was, demanding this. So I came back from Necker. I knew the world needed to change, but I came back from Ecuador, and I knew it needed to change now. I did not have the luxury of figuring out how I was going to do this, is that we have got to start making different choices for our future. We have got to. Otherwise, the future that is ahead of us is not one I'm going to be that crazy about. And so I came home and I sold Blackshire November 5th, and I started Imaginia November 5th. So Imaginia stands for Imagine a New Way of Doing Business. And it is, I have always had fun in my life. I have never, ever, ever had this much fun. It is extraordinary. If I'd known changing the world at this level would it be this much fun, I should have done it a long time ago. Although everything happens at the right time. So our high dream at Imaginea, we're a producer, we're an oil and gas producer, but our high dream is that, and we are going to do this, we are going to produce clean hydrocarbons. We're going to produce them without emissions, without pollution, and without the use of fresh water. We can absolutely do this. I'm not doing it right now, I got a long ways to go, but I will not rest until we get there. Because this is, as I mentioned in Changing the World, one, you have to want to. That week with Richard and that week with the Indigenous people, I cannot not do this. I wake up every morning, I cannot not think of this. I wake up every morning or go to bed every night believing I am truly the most luckiest person on this planet because I get to do literally something so important and so bold and crazy and so fun and exciting. Who would not want to do this? But in the world of trying, this becomes the courageous part because, as you know, if you're entrepreneurs with ideas, the people saying you're crazy, congratulations, you have a high dream. If people don't tell you you're completely nuts, you might be sort of holding back a little bit. Is that the trying part is where you have to really now find who you are and what you're prepared to do. It's one thing to have great ideas, and we need lots of great ideas, but the real important part of changing the world is that you must try. You must not be afraid of failure. If we are afraid of failure, we will never do anything. If we have to worry about knowing exactly how we're going to do this, you will likely not start. We have to get into the world where the wanting to, the passion, what gets you up in the morning, you have to want to do it for more than making money. I tell people that start their company, I run a workshop around being an entrepreneur. And I ask them the first question, why in the world do you want to be an entrepreneur? And if the number one reason is, I want to make lots of money, I give them the tough love. It's like, you will likely fail. You will likely fail. If that is the thing that is going to get you up in the morning, it's like, I'm going to make a ton of money. You know why? Because the days that are dark, the days when it does not seem possible, based on all the evidence at hand that you can do what you want to do, the days when the problems seem insurmountable, the days when people abandon you, the days when people tell you constantly that you're crazy, are the days that you must find something inside of you that says, it doesn't matter. I'm still doing this. And I will guarantee you, the desire for money will not get you there. It will not pick you up when people kick you down. You have to find that place. You have to want to do whatever you're doing, whatever amazing idea you have, find it in a place that you have greater meaning and purpose, so that in those dark nights, it will be your anchor. It will be the thing that you sing, God damn it, I'm still going, no matter what. It will anchor you for sure in that place that's so important. And in the world of trying, that place of courage, that you must ask for help. Don't think you can I cannot change the world by myself. I need as many people to come with me as possible. We are missing massive opportunities for collaboration. We have been so mired in this linear, Newtonian, Darwinian world that literally is falling apart. We see it all the time. And people have not made it, some people that have made the transition well into the new world, which is all mostly right brain. We need lots of left brain too, but it's that world of innovation and creativity and collaboration and integration and personal development and intuition. And systems thinking, to see the system and how it works. We teach system thinking at Imaginea because it's an ecosystem. We teach people that we must get out of this mentality of cause and effect, that one thing, that's the only thing. The most funny story I tell people in teaching people about systems, our body is one of the most incredible machines ever invented. It's amazing. And to talk to healthcare, I do not have to tell you this. Like literally the things that have to go on 24/7 to have me sit up here and talk to you is quite amazing. And yet, we mostly treat it like a linear. If you take this pill, this is what will happen. Or if you do this, this is what. The body is super complex. And it has all sorts of latent effects. It has things that are happening that we don't see, that we can't measure. Same thing in organization models and in the world of entrepreneurship. If you can see the world as a system, the coolest part about the system is two things. One is that you will be able to see the tiniest little thing, the little knob that you can change that will make a huge impact with very little effort, as opposed to linear thinking says, I must do more to get more. The same thing in a system, if you can see the one little thing that doesn't appear to be a big deal at all, and yet if that changes, boom, huge things. You know, in healthcare, if our body temperature, if it rises a little bit, all of a sudden the body becomes in great stress. It's not like, hey, if your body temperature doubled, you're going to be twice as bad. It's like, that's not right. So if we can teach people, you know, in terms of systems, in terms of this new world, that innovation and collaboration and all those things are an important part, especially of being an entrepreneur and being in business, to be aware, to stay present. Being an entrepreneur is literally, I can't think of a better job in the world, but clearly I'm biased, but it takes that awareness all the time. That's one of the things I tell people. It's like, you know that you're on all the time. That doesn't mean you should have balance in your life, but that you're always thinking, you're always watching. It's like, what about this? What about this? And how does it all interrelate so that you can see those levers of who should I talk to? What should I do? Which button should I push? So that you can move your companies into that much more successful, you know, going into the new world. In my mind, we need more entrepreneurs as the world goes forward. We see democratization of everything happening in the world as a massive trend. The big centralized, institutionalized, whether it be organizations or, you know, social structures, are coming down. You can now have, and you see it all the time in healthcare, the personalization, the democratization of healthcare is going to disrupt your industry. We have X Prizes running a tricorder thing where people are going to self-diagnose eventually. Everything's going to be genomed, and you're going to send it to the cloud, and then you're going to send it back, and the 3D printer is going to print off your medicine. Like, so much disruption in technology that is coming because people are taking back their power in all sorts of amazing ways. You can get peer-to-peer insurance now. You can get peer-to-peer lending. If you look at some of the greatest innovations, social particular innovations, are happening in the developing world because they do not have money, they do not have huge infrastructures. So what they're doing is being even more innovative because they have less. Constraints improves creativity. And so when you look at that, the things that are happening in the developing world, look to them for who's leading in the world of innovation and go figure out how we can, we always think, what's happening in Africa doesn't apply. There's some very cool things happening in Africa from not only healthcare, education, science that we could absolutely bring back here, but we're sort of, you know, not thinking about it because we have this separation mentality. Well, that's them and that's not applicable to us. Look for all sorts of ways to alter your paradigms. One of the things I tell people in my industry, I'm not just about to change it in terms of producing clean hydrocarbons from a tangible basis. I'm super interested in literally disrupting every single paradigm that my industry has. I want to disrupt the one around hyper-competitiveness. My industry has been so hyper-competitive to a destructive level, literally. And I'm going to create this new paradigm that extreme collaboration is going to rock this place. I'm going to disrupt this paradigm of being very insular and private. My industry does not share anything, like nothing. Over here, protect, and then you protect, and then you poke people, as opposed to I've already freaked people out in terms, I've virtualized all our well files, all of our information, and in the next probably year, I'm going to open source them all. Every piece of information that has always been held private, it's like I'm going to fire it out because to me, I'm going to fire it out to the brain trust of the world because I want you to help me get there, and I want to get there faster with respect to that. I want to change the paradigms of these traditional command and control organizational models, which are not going to get us to where we need to go in solving the problems ahead of us. To these entrepreneurial, very innovative, collaborative, flat organizations that are responsive, that can deal with the pace of change, that can deal with literally harnessing the amazing potential of human beings in solving problems with respect to that. I was in Paris at the Climate Change Summit in December, which is amazing. It was so beautiful to see like a watershed event where the world, not necessarily this continent, but most of the world has recognized what is happening. The world is moving to clean, affordable energy with or without us. And if this town and this province doesn't sort of figure that out, we are going to be left behind permanently. And I don't say that to be fear-mongering, I say it as a reality that people are literally changing the world and we are being left behind because we're stuck in what used to happen and we want what used to happen to still be here. That's just not what's gonna happen. And rather than I have like no time for pity parties in this city. It's just not helpful. We need to use this time of challenge, and I'm not making light of the people that are having challenges in their lives, but the time for transformation is the time when you're in the ditch, because perhaps we're willing to abandon what we think we know. We're willing to abandon what we think it should be, and to now look at it going, we can only go up from the ditch. It's the cool part about being in the ditch, is that we have an opportunity to literally transform this city and this province and this country. Canada should be absolutely rocking the world in sustainable development. I mean rocking it. Being a leader, being out of the stands, onto the playing field, and to lead this in terms of thought leadership, in terms of you guys as healthcare. Why wouldn't we want to be a center of innovation, of new thinking, of how the world can operate in the world of healthcare and caring for human beings? Why wouldn't we want people to look at us as hub of innovation? And we can and the beautiful thing about life is we get to make choices. You can either choose to have a pity party, which good luck with that, or we can choose to saying, God damn it, I'm not going down like that, right? I have more that I can give. I have more ideas, and I'm gonna screw up enough courage to go and try them, or I'm gonna screw up enough courage to go and share them, or I'm gonna screw up enough courage to go and get more people together so that we can do this. But when I was at Necker, I sat there going, oh, we should do this as an opportunity. And I sat there going, who am I waiting for? Like, who am I waiting for? Because one of the things we do as humans, unfortunately, is we diminish ourselves. We kind of sort of said, oh, I'm not that smart, or I don't know how to be an entrepreneur, or I've never run a business before, or I don't know how to do that. It's like somebody else Suzanne's doing more, Richard Branson's doing more. That's not me. It's like one of the tragedies is that we have let, comparatives steal our joy. We have let people relegate us to an absolute rather than a relative. If you are doing your very best, whatever that best is, we should celebrate that. And rather than compare it, is to saying, am I showing up 100%, whatever that is? I was born to do something crazy. That's what I was born to do. That doesn't mean that's what everybody was. But if I don't show up big, if I don't show up doing what I've been given, I was so blessed. I've been given so many talents and capabilities and boldness and craziness. If I didn't do it, I would be dishonoring those gifts, literally dishonoring them. You might as well give them to somebody else because I'm not using them. And everybody here in the room is the same. Everybody's been given amazing gifts and talents. So are you showing up 100% every day with those? Are you, telling yourself, no, I'm not good enough? Are you telling yourself something in a mental construct that is just not true? It's like, well, I'm not courageous enough. You can. You just have to choose to be courageous enough to do that, to show up 100%. And don't worry what other people say. If you are doing the special things that you should contribute to the world, you will feel the most amazing satisfaction, regardless of the outcome. Regardless of the outcome. Because you will know, it's like, I showed up 100% today, and that is awesome. And when you do that, literally, the rest just follows. The money follows, the people follow. Now, sometimes it's at a different time frame than you want. I speak from personal experience, but it will literally be a life of joy. Life was meant to be joyful. Literally, we were not meant to suffer. We were not meant to be in a limited pie thinking. We were meant to have lives of abundance. We were meant to be connected. We were meant to produce things of value and ideas. We're humans. We were made to create. That's our primary purpose, is to create, whether that's ideas or products or relationships. It is ours to create. It is ours to change the world in terms of, so the question I leave, with you today is, how much do you want to? And then how much are you willing to try? And I guarantee you, when you stick both of those things together, truly, truly amazing things will happen. Thank you so much for your time. How'd I do? Oh, almost.
We do have time for a few quick questions before we switch over to the judges. And I just want to acknowledge something. I think we've been encouraging social media for the last day and a half and with our hashtags, but the last 45 minutes has been a bit crazy, which is a reflection of how inspiring you've been.
Thank you.
I'm going to start off with a quick question because you've raised it a couple of times and it speaks to me personally. So democratization, abundance, joy, and your faith. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yep. Democratization is beautiful as a trend in the world because it really is coming back to what's the most important part is you. It has this sense of now it's mine to design, it's mine to screw up, to bring this accountability back rather than externalizing and being victims. So I love this concept of democratization because it really puts it back squarely on where we will move the dial in terms of changing the world. Who are we waiting for? It's us with respect to that. Second one in terms of was abundance. Abundance mentality. We have been stuck in fixed pie mentality. That's why we generate hyper-competitiveness, because if we believe this is all there is, then we must fight for the pieces of the pie. And we must promote ourselves at the expense of others. And it's like, no, I'm not going to share because then, and then when we get our piece of the pie, we hide it and protect it. As opposed to, if we have abundance mentality, you will believe that the universe will do everything to bring whatever you need, however you need it, whenever you need it, in the most amazing way. There will be so much for everybody, you won't worry about having to share it. Like, it's just this mentality that we can create. There is no limits on what we can create. There is none, I guarantee it. Third one, joy. Joy is, I see sadly an absence of joy so much, and it brings me great sadness. When you really find out who you are, like, I mean really who you are, not who you think you are, not who other people tell you are, but when you know deep inside of you who you are. We are these beautiful divine beings. We're having a human experience. When you really know that you have unlimited potential and who you are, there is nothing that will bring you greater joy. Nothing. Then the rest of the world is just full of experience and, oh, interesting. Because there's great joy and nobody can take that away from you, no matter what the circumstances are. And the last one, in terms of faith, I grew up in a very structured religious background, and that didn't really work because black and white never worked for me, and right and wrong and fear-based and division. And so I kind of parked because I had come to believe or been conditioned to believe that religion and spirituality were the same thing. And so it was like I sort of put my hand up to the world of spirituality because I thought it was going to drag me back into the world of religion. And hey, if religion serves you, I have no issue with that. However, when I turned 40, I had an amazing life experience, and that would take another 20 minutes to tell you this cool story, but that's why I wrote a book about it. So what I missed as a type A is my first book that I started writing. And it basically was a life experience that really showed me that how I thought the world was not how it was, and that we have a world that's literally, everybody's connected, it's just full of energy. It literally is a world full of wonder and awe, and has nothing to do with religion. It can, but it's about being in experience, being present with that. It changed my life when I was 40. And meditation is a huge, if you ever want to learn a great business skill, meditation, best one I ever learned. In terms of being connected to something much larger than yourself, no matter what you call it, describe it as, there's nothing. It is my anchor. by a country mile. We talk about spirituality in business all the time because it's not separate from us. It's not separate from me. It's who I am. I'm not. I don't necessarily promote it, but I'm certainly. It's part of who I am, and it's one of the most peaceful, joyful abundance that pervades my life.
Cool. Thanks. Your turn.
I'll let you pick. I can't see anybody.
Okay, we've got runners on both sides, so we're going to go on the top first, right back there. White cardigan.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was amazing talk. I was just wondering what advice you would offer to youth entrepreneurs who are just who don't have any idea of how to break out into the world.
Excellent question. One, the fact that you even want to is the first start. I'm happy to share either through this forum or you can reach out to me directly. I literally have a little presentation that I do in terms of it's a short version of how to be an entrepreneur and some of the things to think about. But number one is find the thing that you care about, find yourself. Those are the two important things. Mostly find yourself, because then the rest won't matter. But if you find yourself, who are you, what skills, etc. Being you is the most powerful place that you can be, no matter what. And then find something that you're deeply passionate about, the why that you want to do things. And then find people that have done this before, or be like me and just do it and make all the mistakes yourself. It is possible to do that. I'm a testament to that. I did not have any mentors. I was just bold enough, and I just went out and made the mistakes all myself, which is why I'm a great resource, because I can tell you all the things not to do. But in terms of, in terms of find yourself, find what you're passionate about, and find some people around you that can help, mentor and steer you in that way. And then just go do it. The important part, just go do it.
I think the woman beside you also had a question. Harold, back to her, please.
Thank you very much. Very inspirational speech. And while I was sitting here listening, I was like thinking, oh, she's my soulmate, because you've just been explaining my experience with corporate world, where I heard so many faults when the management teach people about one thing, and then they kind of encourage people to speak up. And when you speak up, you suddenly different person, like you said, right? So my question to you, in your organization, what did you do differently in the people management, in the way the structure organized, in the way the KPIs, meetings, and all that stuff, to eliminate all that and bring the truth, nature and essence of people out there?
Great question. That's another one of my books called The Elemental Org, because so many people ask me about our organizational model, which would take probably longer for sure than we have. So the super short version is, we have no hierarchy. So we don't have any middle managers. Everybody sits around the table is like the Knights of the Round Table. Everybody is the same, which is one. And literally, when you eliminate the hierarchy, you eliminate 14 problems that cause problems in your organization. Now, not to say this is not utopia, you create different problems, because people have to retrain their brains, is that literally as much as you complain about your bosses, the one thing your bosses do is they are the catch-all. They're the ones that take the heat or whatever. People, when all of a sudden they're going, I'm on first base, this is, and they actually get a bit concerned. So we teach people how to make decisions, how to think as systems. So we have Imagining a University. So we kind of retrain your brain to learn the skill sets of how to be in a joint account. You have to change your brain that you don't work for a boss, you work for each other. And that actually takes some different skill sets. You have to learn how to appreciate diversity deeply. You have to just learn different skill sets. So we do a lot of work. We have 2 internal coaches that actually help you work on your own stuff, as well as help teach how to kind of be in this. It takes about, it's a very different, it's actually a bit culture shock. It takes people, I probably should record this better, but it's probably about 6 months it takes for people to actually get comfortable with the organizational model. It's that different with respect to that. So it's mainly on self-mastery, learning yourself, how you need to. We have processes that allow people to interact without, because it mostly is just about you running your domain and how to do that, and you figure it out. It's like mini entrepreneurs. It's super fun. I'm totally biased, obviously, but.
We have time for at least one more. be shy. Really? Okay.
I really like some of the things you said. Organizations, I heard were about compliance as opposed to encouraging thoughts and innovation. As much as they like to recruit for that, go out. Been in the oil and gas myself, so I completely get that. One of the important points you spoke about was the noise that exists. We're bombarded. We're a community of individuals that don't really focus and are present every day. So what suggestions would you have in terms of teaching people block the noise and sort of follow that path, follow their heart?
Another great question, thank you. I would say the two main things. One is that it sounds easy, it's not that hard. We must stop being addicted to being busy. Like, it's an addiction. It's absolutely an addiction. How many people are going to ask you tonight, what are you doing this weekend? What are you doing this weekend? Because that's super important. Then we're going to compare on Monday morning. What did you do? What did you do? How many things did you do? Oh my God, you did more than I did. Like, we literally are addicted to be. If you pulled out your calendars for everybody, it's like, oh, I got to be here, I got to be there, I got to do that. And we're all about doing. We're literally addicted to doing because it feels like somehow then we're productive and we're a valued piece of society and et cetera. We never ask people, what are you being this weekend, right? So it's a huge differentiation is that, so one, you have to just pull yourself out of saying, I have to stop being busy, because then you create space to which you can be. So in terms like at Imaginea, every morning at 8:30, we have Tonglen meditation. It's invitation, not everybody comes, but literally it's a practice. I do meditation in the morning. I do it, like, it is a practice. It's like eating to me. If you didn't eat for the day, you would know something's wrong. I didn't do something. That's what meditation is to me as well, is you just have to create the discipline around taking time to just be without needing to accomplish anything, without needing to prove. It's just marinating in this beautiful essence of you to do that. Yeah.
So we're going to wrap with that.
Okay.
Many, many gems. And the challenge I'm going to offer everybody, including myself, when we leave here today is to say that to one more person. Say it to yourself, but then say that to a loved one, family member, a good friend. Not what are you doing this weekend? What are you being?
Yeah.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you.
We have a 5-minute break, but I've been requested to ask you to all stay where you're at, chillax for 5 minutes.
Be. 5 minutes.
And
we
then
can practice meditation for 5 minutes.
Okay. and then the judges will be back. So 5 minutes. Hold tight.
Well, I've been it ever since I was a kid at school. Now they love me in Newcastle and in Liverpool. I'm as hard as a pistol, I can do no wrong. I've been to Birmingham and Bristol, playing my song. Take 777 to the USA. Gonna party all night, I'm gonna sleep all day. See New York City, cause I've never been. New York City in the limousine. To America, to America. To America, to America. 777 over to LA. Gonna party all night and gonna sleep all day. Wake up and drive around. I get the coolest girl in town. Do America, do America. Do America, do America.
Yes, people go now. Yeah, we're also
Not a people go right away.
more minutes. They'll give us the signal. So,
I have an announcement about the problem that they did yesterday, that there was a twisted cable.
just like faulty wires,
I want to say something because that's gone.
you know what?
I think
Backstage passes for the food and booze. Sunglasses for my interview.
all right, absolutely.
Statue of Liberty. Everybody looking at me. Do America, do America. Do America, do America now. Do America.
Now, or do you want to give a 1 minute warning?
1 minute warning.
1 minute warning. Here we go. Our 3 partner leads are on stage, so I want to welcome back. They've been part of the jury, and you've heard each of them speak several times over the last 2 days. Drs. Conley, Malasiotis, and Dr. Pite. John, please take the mic.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for attending and participating in this event. I do have one housekeeping item. There was a faulty cable yesterday, and that's why we saw that little disentanglement with some of the slides, and it has been fixed and it has been crystal clear today. So thank you to the AV services. It took them most of the night to figure out as they checked each connection as to where it was, but it was a faulty cable, which I guess can happen in our own homes as well as a big organization. Just one of those things that occurred. But anyway, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Rahim, for this wonderful event. We have now come to the great moment. It's time to announce our winners of this Global Innovation Healthcare Innovation Academy. The first was held in Geneva in 2014. And I hope that you were able to see some of the one of the winners from that event, the little talking pediatric robot. How many saw it out there? That was a group that started out as an inkling of idea. They have now gone on. They were the third prize winners and have taken the pediatric world by storm. I want one for my kids, but they cost too much. My grandchildren. Sorry, not my kids. They're grown. Oh, They wanted one too, though, by the way. They thought it was so cute. My son was here yesterday. Yes, that's right. So, and then the first prize winners were involved with the creation of an app to shorten doctors' office visits. They've just sold their product to the University of Pittsburgh. So a couple of the winners from the 2014 Geneva event have gone on to bigger and better things. We like to think that part of that success was because they were involved in the first original World Innovation Day, now termed Global Healthcare Innovation Academy. So we're going to be awarding prizes to the following. And I wanted to also say that in addition to what's listed in the program, what we're going to be giving, there will be a 1-hour consulting that has now been offered by Arizona Bay, Output Arizona Bay, and that will be provided by Paul Natland, who had given one of these. So that will also be an add-on. That just came to us recently. They decided that they wanted to offer 1 hour of free consulting. That would be at a cost of approximately 1,500 Canadian dollars. So that is now added to the prize list. So thank you very much to Output Arizona Bay for that late add-on. So the top 3 prize winners receive cash prizes for their achievements. And there are also 2 other prizes that we're going to be awarded as well. And we'll start down at the bottom portion of the awards. And I'll ask Didier and Alex to come forward actually as well. The award for the People's Choice will be awarded first. This was an online voting process. Everybody participated. We had approximately 650 registrants for the 2 days. So some of you are repeat customers, some of you are independent individuals. But that award is being presented, and I don't have a drum roll here, so I can't quite do it. Okay, brrr. The drum roll for the People's Choice Award, and this is much like you would see on the people who have chosen this because they thought it was the choice of the population at large. So I'm going to be like that guy in the movie, you know, you just say it 100 different ways before you finally come to it. So, and the prize is awarded to, for People's Choice. Yes, Preventing Maternal Death at Birth, Minnetonka, Dr. Robin Offord. And we have also Oliver here, and this team is from Switzerland, and I know actually Oliver from Geneva. Congratulations. We have a future Olympian for healthcare innovation. So thank you very much. So for our next award, we're going to go to the most promising idea. So this is a judge's choice, and this is something that came through the judging from yesterday, carried forward into today. And we had some discussion, and before I announce this most promising idea award, let me just say that it's an award that has a concept or an idea that we think will take off. It will move mountains and move forward in a very, very major way. There were issues perhaps that maybe everything wasn't quite crisp at the edges, but it's definitely going to go places. So there's no 2 questions about this, the most promising idea award. And it is with great pleasure that we announce the most promising idea award to ScolioScan from Hong Kong, Professor Yang Ping Zheng. And this award will be presented by Dr. Barry Bayless who is one of the executive of the W21C, and he was supposed to say that, so very sorry about that. Congratulations.
I know you got lots more to give, John.
Just, my name's Dr. Barry Bayless, and I just presented that award. Thank you for that, and we'll turn the podium over to Chris Hans. I can't read. I think I need new glasses.
Okay, I'm not going to do a really long-winded one like John did. Third prize is, they've already been on the stage, is Mintaka.
Okay, now I get to be long-winded again. Thanks very much for that comment. And we will now move. And just so that you can be reminded, the first prize award is $8,000. Third prize is $8,000. Oh, those glasses. The second prize award of excellence is $15,000. So without further ado, we will ask Peter Fenwick to come forward and to present the second prize award winners. Second prize award winners, correct.
Sorry, do I mimic John? So the second prize award, which is the silver medal, goes to Amal Therapeutics. Oh, hang on, hang on.
And now the $25,000 first prize. And we deliberated and had a great discussion, actually, but it came out in the voting fairly clearly. And just to remind you again, the 1 hour of additional free consulting that's been added on to this, and 8 hours of consulting. And we will ask a group of individuals to come forward, because this award came about through a complicated series of events to be able to provide the money. And actually, I do want to acknowledge Dr. Barry Bayless in the background, where there was some work that he had done that allowed this to be able to come forward. So thank you, Dr. Bayless, for that. And I'm going to call forward a trio of individuals, and this is to show the collaboration and teamwork that's involved in healthcare. Dr. Jane Lemaire, clinic professor in the Division of General and Internal Medicine, and Krista Salt, the unit manager for the Living Laboratory that you saw the slides on, the medical teaching unit, W21C, and Jennifer Cowles. She always wears a hat, oh, she has one today, okay. So one day I told her I didn't recognize her because she didn't have a hat on. And she is the home unit for 36 and the RN patient care coordinator. So.
In order to innovate, you must understand what happens at the grassroots level. W21C began as the ward of the 21st century, a state-of-the-art hospital ward where acutely ill internal medicine patients are cared for and young doctors and nurses are trained. It was also designed to be a living laboratory, a place where research is conducted in a real-life healthcare setting.
The ward of the 21st century is a physical space where ideas, equipment, and concepts are tested and implemented. But the most important thing is it is an interdisciplinary healthcare setting where actual patients, doctors, nurses, and other healthcare providers can provide feedback around these ideas, equipment, and concepts.
And I believe I have the last word. This competition is about innovation, and we've seen plenty of evidence of that over the last 2 days. So this award represents the culture of innovation. And I'm proud to say that this culture of innovation has been represented and also very concretely realized for over a decade on the ward of the 21st century because of people like Crystal and Jen and so many others that have contributed. So the moment that you've all been waiting for, on behalf of our Division of General Internal Medicine at the University of Calgary Cummings School of Medicine and Alberta Health Services, as well as our multidisciplinary team at the W21C, we offer our congratulations to the winning team, Life Vest Helping Babies Breathe, Dr. Jennifer Beck and Dr. Dub Campbell. Please come on down.
Okay, so just now to do some final wrap up here. A reminder of what we set out to achieve through this event and through the Global Healthcare Innovation Academy. Each of the partner sites contributed. Thank you very much to St. Michael's and to Polytechnic in Hong Kong and University of Geneva. All of the individuals spent many hours on the phone. We were meeting every couple of months in the planning stages. And as mentioned, St. Michael's joined in the last year, and are they ever glad they did now? And so we had discussions with some of the Andreas Lopakis and Ori Rothstein and others, and I think Dr. Slutsky, and it all came together, so you could thank them when you return as well. So makes it all worthwhile. And I think we try to learn from each other from this. One of the things that Alex and DDA and I had spoken about in the previous Geneva event was how much the interactions and the international say, well, how did they do it in Hong Kong? How did they do it in Switzerland? We're going to be asking that question now. I think in 2014, 2 of the winning teams were from Canada. They said, oh, those Canadians, was this rigged? What happened? But nonetheless, remember that for each of you that attended, you were the creme de la creme of each of your local healthcare innovation academies. So you've risen up to the top, and even for those of you who reached the final stage, that is a very significant event in itself. And if you take a kernel of sand from the speakers, which I thought were very, very passionate, very dynamic, never, never give up. Fall on your knees 1,000 times, you get up 2,000 times. Carry forward. Carry your passion with you as far as you can take it, because these are great ideas and we want to see you succeed with them. And that is really what the ultimate purpose of this event is, to be able to provide passionate care and improvements in the quality and the delivery of that care. And so each of these ideas has a place in the realm of care delivery. So thank you very much for attending. I'm going to thank our key supporters. Peter has gone through them in the past. I thought that please check your programs again. We couldn't have done it without the support of our supporters, our sponsors. They made this event possible. And I hope many of you have visited the booths. And I'm waiting for that robot to say goodbye to me when I leave. Thank you to all our volunteers, those people in the green shirts. We could not have done this without you. I really wanted one of those T-shirts. I heard they're all gone now. I have to get my own printed. So special thanks to Chris Hans and Peter Fenwick. Market Grade and Fenwick Consulting, they were very valuable and providing us with their time, talent, and treasures and knowledge and background. So they were a great help in our planning session. Our workshop leaders who donated their time freely. So a round of thanks to our workshop leaders. And a special thanks to Dr. Derek Hassing, who moderated and judged. He's a professor of entrepreneurial thinking at the Haskayne School of Business. And we've learned a lot from our business partners on this, of course. The interesting discussion in the jury was the juxtaposition between the scientific groups and then the business guys. They think differently. That's what I'm discovering time and time again. It's a bit of a different line of thinking, but... And finally, thank you to our communications team and the planners. And a special thank you, I'd like them to come forward. That's Leora Rabatak, Julia McGregor, Shay Coburn, and Jill DeGroot. Oh, the T-shirt status. Okay. And I think with that, we are able to close. Please feel free to mill around for a short time. Here's Jill. Thank you very much to Jill. And I'm going to turn the podium over to Didier, who will then say a few words, and then the final word to Alex, because the torch will be passed to Hong Kong.
Thank you, John. Thanks very much, John. I have nothing to say except that when we started to imagine this event and organize this first event in Geneva, we were, and it was 2 years ago, we were real amateurs. We had no money to start with. We had no cash prize 1 week before the event. Well, I'm very impressed by what happened between in the 2 years between the two events. It was so well organized here, so well prepared. We had only a few teleconferences, right? Alex and myself were very, very busy. We were not at all teleconference, right? They were mostly the Canadian team working so hard. In our places, we helped a little bit, but I would like to really recognize this fantastic team. I can tell you, it's quite an emotion when you thought about this event many years ago, and you do the first event, and you never know if there will be a second event. After this second event, and thanks to the fantastic green team, the team in green around John, I can say that now we have been starting, and the challenge is now to you, Alex. So, podium.
Thank you. What a wonderful time has been here in Calgary, and I'm looking forward to going off to the Rockies after this event. John, thank you for putting so much effort with your team over the past 2 years, really, to put this wonderful event together. I'm not sure how I can top it up. So you put the standards very high, 600 plus, 650 participants, amazing presentations, very good innovations. And let's see how we can cope in Hong Kong with that. But I'm sure we can do something good as well. Before I go, you promised me a hat. I'm still waiting for this cowboy hat. I'm not leaving Calgary until you give me that hat. But besides that, everything else has been an amazing experience. So Looking forward to seeing you all in Hong Kong. Please mark your diaries last Thursday and Friday of August 2018. I don't remember exactly the dates, but it should be around 26th, 27th of August 2018. We do it every 2 years. So looking forward to see all of you and more in Hong Kong in the next Innovation Day. Thank you very much.